Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller. And today we're late again on doing our what sold video for last week, October 13th through the 16th. That was Monday through Thursday. At that point in the month, my sales were still pitiful, but y'all, they've gotten really good. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, all of that it continues. I've had probably a good 6 or 7 days in a row that have been average or way above average. And I've sold several high dollar things, which, I talked about that in the last video, I think, that I changed all of my high dollar stuff to free shipping, hoping that it would, do its magic in the Google search because it's now flat rate. And I've sold, I want to say three things, I think, that were higher dollar. So yeah, I think it's working. We'll see. There's probably a way, and he could probably figure it out. Did that, get found through a Google search, or was it a, what do they call it when it's through eBay? There's a word they use. I can't remember it right now. But, fingers crossed, fourth quarter, at least this next month, is going to be amazing. I really could use it. We've just kind of had a lot of expenses this year. Our door, oh my gosh, y'all. They damaged the door trying to install it and then still tried to install it. So when we complained, they still haven't come back to replace the door yet. So
we thought they were, but the guy that was coming was only coming to inspect whether or not there was really any damage. And as soon as he looked at it, he's like, yeah, I can tell that's not right, just immediately looking at it. Yeah, but we're going to talk about here in a bit, flat rate shipping update from the clothing store. So yeah, here in a bit.
See my face. All right, let me go ahead and show you a few of the sales that I had on Etsy and eBay. And if you're new to my channel, I don't do free shipping except on these high dollar ones, which, I don't know how many it is, 20, 25, 30 of them. But everything else, the buyer did pay the shipping also. First thing, the only thing that sold on Etsy, and I haven't been cross-listing there. I did this morning. I put probably, I don't know, 20, 30 some on there this morning. I've got to do better because I think right now would be an ideal time. I'm just between trying to get this stuff listed. I'm running out of time, and then I've not felt well. So got to get it together. All right, first, what sold on Etsy was this Bluebird Polly Pocket figure set from 1993. I picked these up when we went to the Nashville reseller meetup at the bins. Somebody had just dumped a bunch of the vintage Polly Pocket cases and figures at the end of a bin, and I grabbed a bunch. These two sold for $22.45. Then on eBay, this is Minions Stuart, a little side stepper animated plush, sold for $22.45. And then this is a Tonka red motorcycle dirt bike, vintage, made in Hong Kong, sold for $15. It was a very quick sell, like probably 5 days, 4 days. These have been listed since 2023, so I am so glad that they finally sold, and they're kind of a big lot. It's taking up shelf space. These are Bombay, was the brand, little soldier place card holders, sold for $21.56. Another really old listing, but one that I had just dropped the price on, and this little Asian girl doll sold for $25. This was nice, probably the best sell of the 4-day period. I think I paid $20 for these at an estate sale. But they were like 18-inch doll size wooden dining room table and chairs. And they sold for $125. And this was not free shipping on this one. Animal Adventure White Rabbit Plush. I like picking these up. They don't sell very quickly and they don't sell for much, but there's a whole series of colors. And I just think they're adorable. $8.96. This is Molinex replacement parts to like a shredder thingy. And it sold for $17.95. We're really kind of moving away from the small appliance pieces and parts.
My issue with the small appliances we find around here, most of them are just dirty. Even if we could make good money on them, I would not be picking them up because it's too much of a project. And we have moved out of the project phase of that stuff because it sits and then it piles up and then it just becomes a giant fiasco. So I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff anymore. If I found one that would sell well and was clean, I would get it. The Rebel might growl at me, but that's normal anyway. So I would just ignore it like always. But yeah, I don't want any more dirty kitchen appliance projects.
All right, a lot of bread and butter because I am lowering my prices. This was a Black Cat Halloween candy corn plush, sold for $8.96. Juice It Procter and Silex little metal basket, $11.66. As we say, we're not doing them anymore now. Here, I've sold 2 of them. Spark, Create, Imagine. There was a time that they sold very well for me, but I think the market is just oversaturated at this point, and they take a while to sell and not for a whole lot. I did end up putting these 3 together, and they sold for $26.95. Mud Pie. I like that brand. I don't pick up a whole lot of it. Usually it's like Lovey's and stuff like that. But this was a felted wool zebra wall hanging. And it took about 4 months to sell, and it sold for $35.95.
So let's talk about the other store.
The other store.
Before we start that, hit the like button, drop a comment if you're liking this stuff, and it helps keep the algorithm happy. But the clothing store, He decided, yes. And as Rebel told me the other day, I'm the leader of this family when she lets me be. So I decided that I was going to flip it over to flat rate shipping for anything that could easily go into a flat rate mailer. I didn't want to do shoes or anything like that because that could get expensive shipping out to Seattle or California. So I flipped everything over that could be. We had about 700 items in the store, a little less than that when I started. And I got 600 of them, 650, somewhere in there, have been changed over to flat rate shipping. While I was doing that, it seemed like the store was just like selling stuff like crazy, even though it wasn't the flat rate stuff. And I finished that Friday or so, or Saturday, somewhere in there, and then it just went, it was like it flatlined.
Nope. We had sold at least one thing every day since October 25th. Now, this is a new store and we're just building it. But since October 5th, we had sold at least one thing every day. And then we had our first non-sale day this past weekend.
2 in a row.
2 in a row.
2 days in a row. We got 2 things to go out today, though. So, and we had sold, it's been several days since I looked, but we had sold 47 items in 31 days. So about an item and a half a day. And I mentioned this in the live yesterday when we talked about it. If you're only selling an item or 2 a day, you're probably going to have days where you have 0 sales.
Right.
It's just, we know eBay goes up and down. And if you're selling 10 or 20 a day and you have a 0 sales day, then you something's probably off somewhere. Something's going wrong. But at an item or 2 a day, you're probably going to have some 0 sales day and then some 4 or 5 days. But we'll see. I told her I was going to stick it out for at least a week to see how this was doing and to see if these things are actually showing up in the Google search results. I got to sit down and do that with 10 or 15 items to have a good study as to whether or not it's even working.
Well, and I'm just again wondering, is it even worth it? Because right now, you know, the flat rate, you kind of have to take into consideration the shipping to the West Coast. That's just fact of life. It costs more to ship over there. But, you know, and we tried to keep it reasonable where, you know, we're not going to take a big loss if we sell over there, but we were taking a loss. You know, that was just the reality of it. Unless we could like get it into a flat rate mailer, and then maybe not. But, you know, the sales locally, they're actually paying more. You know, in this region, they're paying more shipping. And so I think that's what's hurting us. I think our shipping, you know, for the East Coast, Midwest is...
Basically the eastern half of the United States, the shipping went up for them.
Yeah. And maybe we're not as competitive. We checked a few things when we were first setting up our prices, and it seemed like we were still okay with everybody else, but maybe we didn't do a large enough check.
We maybe needed a bigger sample size, because when we ship a lot of clothes east of the Mississippi, kind of, I would say, for $7, $6.50, $7.25, $7. Well, that's at $7.99 now for the 2 pound stuff, or is that 1 pound? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
It's $7 or $8.
Either $7.99 or $8.99. I don't remember what we picked.
But the ones we looked at when we were, how much is everybody else charging? A lot of those were in the $9 to $10 range is what people were charging to ship to anywhere. It was just, well,
they were probably West Coast, and that's how much they were charging to us.
That could be. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe, no. Because I looked where some of them were coming from, and some of them were coming from like North Carolina or something, and they were still charging $9. So who knows? I know there are people out there that think you should charge high shipping so that you make up for your fees and your shipping materials and all of that.
Your time and gas and yada, yada, yada.
But then you're also raising the cost of your item when you consider full cost of the item and the shipping. So you got to find that happy medium that people are actually going to buy it. And maybe by trying to accommodate the West Coast stuff as a flat rate shipping, we have priced ourselves out of the east half of the United States. We don't know. We're going to see how it goes. We got 2 today. We'll see how the rest of the week goes.
I still have clothes in my store that I'm slowly but surely moving over. And these Bill khakis corduroy pants sold for $22. But if you look at the shipping was only going to be $6.34 if it was local-ish to me. Maybe a little bit more. So if we're charging $7.99 or $8.99, you know, it's, you know, somebody who has this exact pair of pants charging calculated shipping actual, you know, we're not competitive anymore. So I don't know. It's, you know, it's that, you know, balance, and we got to figure it out. Let us know what you are doing as far as your clothes. Are you doing calculated? Are you doing flat rate like eBay is suggesting that we need to do to get into the Google search? What are you doing? Oh, well, trick or treat figure. I should have put figure in there. But I like finding this brand. It's not as popular as Department 56. So when we go to estate sales and stuff, you know, they tend to put higher prices on the Department 56. But oh well, and who's the other one? Lemax. Their prices tend to be relatively inexpensive. So I love when I find these, and you know, a lot of these I can get like a quarter or $3-4 type stuff at estate sales. And this little figure sold for $11. And Taylor women's cardigan sold for $28.57. BKE denim Peyton jeans sold for $20. Wrangler, pick up a lot of Wranglers. I think we do better with the men's than the women's, though, right?
That's in general on all clothes. Men, jeans especially. Men's do sometimes significantly better than women's on sell-through rate and price.
Yep. And this was an old listing. It's number 437 of all the things that we've listed from the beginning. So we listed this that first year, and they finally sold $13.21. Kohl's black and white zebra plush sold for $8.96. Little darlings. I wish I could find tons of these. They do so well. It took about 2 months to sell, but this is by Well Made Toys. It's just these just generic looking embroidered face little dolls, and it's sold for $24.25. Gymboree, a lot of times they sell for quite a bit. This was just a little dog plush purse, and it sold for $8.96. American Eagle women's jeans, $15.94. Fiesta Haley the cow plush sold for $17.95. It was a very quick sell, like 10 days or so. Wrangler men's jeans sold for $20.41. Sold a lot of clothes. Hallmark white bunny plush sold for $13.45. Alvin and the Chipmunks animated plush sold for $18. Thai Classic. That is my new thing I like finding. But check comps, because not all Thai Classics sell for very much. And I mean like less than $5. But this was Memphis the Hound Dog, and he sold for $13.45. Lily by Fermiana women's top. Again, this was an item that I lowered the price, and it sold for $13.21. Another t-shirt, Coca-Cola women's, sold for $10. Dansko women's shoes. I used to do so well with them, but these days they just take forever to sell. You have to really, really be careful with dry rot with the Danskos. And then, you know, this one's been listed a couple of years, I'd say, and I finally took an offer of $18 for them. And last but not least, another item I had just dropped the price on, Soft Dreams Baby's First Christmas Bear, sold for $9.95. I am truly trying to get my store down probably 1,000 or more items. If I can sell them, perfect. If not, you know, I'm going to be getting rid of some of the really old stuff at the end of the year, beginning of the year.
Better hope I don't do that.
No, I will take care of it. All right, and then in Robert's store.
I was meaning you.
Oh, what?
Get rid of the really old stuff.
Shut up. And then in Robert's store, for that 4-day period, we sold 9 things. So first thing that sold was this Chaps men's crew neck sweater, sold for $15.01. All right, men's Lucky brand straight jeans sold for $26.71. Lee relaxed fit at the waist women's jeans sold for $13.51. Oh, this person bought 2 pair. Same thing, Lee relaxed fit jeans sold for $13.51. Express women's boot cut mid-rise jeans sold for $14. A lot of jeans. We have tons of jeans in our store. We're kind of slow at getting the coats and shirts and stuff like that listed. King O'Winter men's corduroy jacket, listed forever. Finally got it to sell for $30. I think it's just they're heavy, that type of stuff. Levi's 505 men's jeans sold for $18. Vervet women's flared denim jeans sold for $23. And last but not least was a women's tapered jeans sold for $22.21.
2 things.
2 things.
First, we got the notification that the clothing store is top rated, well, would be top rated seller at its next
review,
date in October, next review on on November 20th, I think it is. We got that on like October 22nd. So we missed it by 2 days, which is going to, those 2 days is going to cost us, 10% of our fees,
Yep.
which, could be a chunk of money, not, 50, $60 or whatever it turns out to be. Second, somebody had asked in your Discord, I can't remember the lady's name, that she sold something internationally through the eBay International Shipping Program, and
Yes.
she didn't think she was a part of it because she was, she was unsure about it. And so we kind of posted back and forth some comments in there, and the clothing store was put into the eBay shipping program. I thought we were in it by default, but apparently you're not in it by default when you first create an account. You get moved into it. Well,
At some point.
at some
yeah.
point, but this account is a few years old. We just hadn't used it in a few years. So maybe you have to sell so many things or so many dollars or something to this before
Get
they
qualified.
move you into that program. I'm not sure what it is. But if you don't want to be a part of it, check your settings. But I would recommend it because it's easy. It's so easy. We ship it to Illinois and then it's out of our hands. If there's a problem with the order after they get it and send it on to the customer, eBay takes care of everything. If it gets destroyed in shipping, you still get your money. eBay takes care of any refunds, anything like that after they get it.
Yeah, it's a win-win for most of us, other than probably the buyer and the shipping, because I don't think I think the shipping's a little bit expensive through eBay International for them. But with the changes in customs over the last few years, I personally don't want to bother with trying to figure out direct shipping internationally. I used to do it for years, but there are so many new guidelines and new rules and new processes, I don't want to mess with it.
You'd have to determine, is it worth my time and effort to learn, to figure out all the rules for the amount of dollars I'm going to sell.
Yeah, because somebody was just telling me, like, I got a message from somebody in Great Britain, and they were saying that my item wasn't available to them. And I think my friend Beth told me that you can't sell used stuff to Great Britain anymore. So everything in my store is used, pre-owned.
Oh, look at them being all sorts of fancy over there.
I know. So, I don't want to mess with that kind of stuff. That's not how it used to be, and now it is. And nope. I feel bad. They can go through freight forwarders or something to get the stuff. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? Right. It's time to get to work. This has to get worked on this week. Tons and tons of stuff that's ready to be listed. I just haven't felt well. So, all right, everybody, get to work. Bye.